Gotta be honest with y'all, I didn't meet my reading goal this year. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Maya Weatherall. I make lifestyle content around Madison. I am a filmmaker, vlogger, and I just love being on YouTube. So if you're new here, welcome. If you've been here for a while, also welcome and welcome back. As I said in the beginning, I did not meet my reading goal this year. I set a goal for myself to read 20 books, and I made it to 15. And by the time this video is going to be out, it will be 16 books because I'm almost done with the one on my Kindle. But I want to reaffirm you all. Reading is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a getaway. It's supposed to be a relaxing time, getting lost in the characters, the world of characters that we get to love and get to know. So if you didn't meet your reading goal this year and you had every good intention in the beginning of this year till now, it is okay. I am not stressing out about it, as that was a lot of good reading, a lot of good stories that I got a chance to get lost in, get excited about, leave reviews on. So most of these are from my Kindle and some are going to be physical copies. The ones that are on my Kindle, I'll leave a screenshot of the cover on the side of my screen, and I'll give a little summary of what the book is about and the review that I left the review that I left, I should say. The books that I get is from Libby. I use that on my Kindle. It's basically a library online, but it is related to your local library. So you can access your local library in any state. I will say there will be holds for some of the popular titles. You'll have to wait some weeks, maybe some months to get access to those books. But once those books are available on Libby, you basically borrow it like you would from a library for 14 to 21 days, and you just have a good time reading. Then what's nice is you can connect your Goodreads account with your Kindle, and you can leave a review straight from your Kindle. And another thing that I signed up for this year is NetGalley. NetGalley is a resource of books, a plethora of books, where you can access or request soon-to-be titles, soon-to-be published books in however many months. So for example, one of the books that I'll share in here, The Fiancé Dilemma by Elena Armes, I requested that on NetGalley because I was like, oh my gosh, if I can read that before it becomes published, I would love that forever. Got access to it. It's free, and all you have to do is basically have an Amazon or Goodreads account, leave a review of the book, and that's pretty much it. So those are the two things that I use to keep, two things that I use to get books, and then I use Goodreads to track my books and leave reviews. I leave non-spoiler reviews because we don't have time to give out spoilers. You can access that from other creators that are on Goodreads. I just prefer not to do spoilers because, you know, books are supposed to get lost in it, enjoy it, have a fun time. It's Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. First of all, Tessa Bailey has become one of my favorite romance authors, and I enjoyed this one quite a lot. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Sometimes, you know, some romance books will hit me hard, like, oh, I love that so much, but for the most part, I enjoyed reading it. I finished this book about in a week. Bailey has become one of my favorite romance authors. Her books are extra spicy, and frankly, I'm here for all the details. I thought this was fun and lighthearted spin on two lovers who were too shy to make the first move when they were kids, and now that they are older, they know what they want out of each other, but it's the journey of the characters that makes the story so enjoyable. Of course, I read this after the holiday craziness and still enjoyed the theme and setting of the entire story. Next up was Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. I gave that one a actually I gave that one a 3 out of 5. This one was While I did enjoy Skye trying to find her true self, I found certain parts of the book to be a little drawn out and could have been shortened. I'm curious to see how losing hope and focusing on Dean's point of view plays out. Book was 2 out of 5 spicy. So if you're looking for a little less spice and something that's more to the point, helping the characters be drawn out a little bit more, I would recommend it in that aspect. But it wasn't my favorite Colleen Hoover book, but it was one of those things where I've seen it so many times at the Barnes & Noble store or on Book Talk, so I was like, let me just check it out and see. Actually, I never read Losing Hope. I never got it. I just didn't feel like it. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna skip that one. I did request it on Libby, and then it said it was available, and I think at the time there another book came out, and I was like, I'll just skip it for right now. So I read Hopeless. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite. Next one is Just My Type by Fallon Ballard. Yeah, Fallon Ballard. I gave that one a 4 out of 5. Spicy level was a 4 out of 5. And then I said, y'all, this book was my jam. I just love second chance romance tropes. Sometimes a part can help build maturity and clarity in what you truly want. And I really enjoyed how Fallon Ballard gave me everything I needed to fill my hopeful romantic heart. This was a quick read and kept my attention all the way through. Elena and Seth once were lovers, broke up, split up for a bit, went to their own separate ways, and then they reconvened and met each other again as older people at a corporate job. And those are the type of stories that warms my heart a lot. Is The Long Game by Elena Armez, and I gave that one a 4 out of 5. Elena Armez is up there in the top 5 with Tessa Bailey, Ali Hazelwood, Elena Armez, like in no particular order now. We're not ranking them. But I have read every single one of Elena Armez's books, and I started reading her last year. The way she develops her characters, the way she develops the world, the storylines, it is just immaculate. Chef's kiss, okay? And I get excited for the other point of view. I love a good point of view, and it's not just one way of looking at the character's, side. We get the other side too, and that's usually either the man or the woman's side, and I love it so much, especially reading the man's point of view, because getting to hear their thoughts, getting to read their thoughts, understand how they're thinking about the girl, how they're feeling inside, they're getting, frazzled, sweaty, like a woman would. It's exciting for me, so I love reading that stuff. Crying, screaming, and wishing that I had a Cameron Caldani. Now that I'm thinking about it, that man sounded very fine in the book, okay? Yeah, a book crush for sure. I think he might be my favorite male character from Elena's books. My favorite trope is always enemies to lovers, and I love how vulnerable their love story is. Can't wait for the second book in this series, and that was The Fiancé Dilemma that I read later on this year. The next two in this list are from a longer series. It's called Lady of Darkness by Melissa Rokerich. A person recommended them to me this year because I read ACOTAR last year. And when I read this series, at least the first 2 books, I saw a lot of similarities to ACOTAR. You can tell she was a fan of Sarah J. Maas, and so I was like, okay. But she added her own twist to it, which was nice. So this was more a romance fantasy. So if that's your jam, if you're at ACOTAR and you're looking for a new romance series, I would recommend Lady of Darkness. It kept my attention for the first 2 books. I still have to read the next few. I just canceled Kindle Unlimited right now. I rated that a 3 out of 5. I did not write a review for that one, but from what I can remember from it, it felt very similar to A Court of Thorns, of just building up the characters, building up the scene, understanding the dynamics of who they are together and individually. And I also thought the main character, I did not like her at all. She had an attitude, and she was just very stoic in how she presented herself to people. And I get it. You go through a lot of stuff in life. You have a lot of guards up, a lot of shields up, so you have to protect yourself. But she was getting on my nerves for most of that book. And it was also a little long, too. So I think that's why I rated it a 3 out of 5. Because after a while, I was like, okay, we could kind of cut this short a little bit in some areas, but I understood it for what it needed to be written for. One in the series was Lady of Shadows. I rated that a 4 out of 5. That one was where stuff started to pick up from the first book. Now we start to understand, who the what's the character's name? Her name is Scarlet. So Scarlet really starts to pick up of who she is as a person, her identity, where she came from, and then how it all ties together with everybody else. And I must say her man's, it sounds like a Reese from ACOTAR to me. So like I said, if you enjoyed ACOTAR and looking for something a little similar, check out Lady of Darkness. I'm still reading the series. I'm on the 3rd book right now, and it does get interesting as each book comes along. So I think it's like 5 books in the series. So if you're looking for something a little longer, check out Lady of Darkness. Fiancé Dilemma. That was one of the ones I requested from NetGalley, and I got approved, and I was so excited. This was from The Long Game, and so now we get to read from Josie's point of view, and whoo, man, it was cute. I think I wrote a review for this one, so let's see. I rated this a 5 out of 5 because it was just so relatable. It felt so homey. It felt so good. And as someone who's a hopeful romantic, I'm single, and I just love romance. I think it's the most beautiful thing. And to see 2 people who don't know each other figure out each other, see if they're compatible with each other, and then walk those steps of building a relationship together. I just think it's the cutest thing. So here's what I said. OMG, I love Elena Armes so much. This is my first pre-release by NetGalley and Ateria Books read, and I was beyond excited to finally get the notification for the Fiance Dilemma. So let's get into it, because boy, oh boy, Mr. Matthew Flanagan, where on earth can I find a man like that in my life? A sucker for romance by nature, because I just find it so beautiful when you find your soulmate. Josie believing in the same magical feeling got me so excited, and reading how her breath would get caught or belly would get filled with butterflies had me giggling like a little girl. And Matthew just knows how to use his words correctly. I mean, I found myself saying yes or okay several times throughout. At the end of the day, I feel like relationships have this stigma that it must go a certain way, and just witnessing how Rosie and Matthew played against those stereotypes really filled me with hope and encouragement. Elena Armes is one of my favorite romance authors, and she hasn't missed yet. If you're on the fence if you should read this book, do it. I don't even need to say anything else. That was the review right there. I enjoyed this one a lot. That was my first 5 out of 5 read. The list is Bride. Okay, so continuing on the fantasy train, this is werewolves and vampires. So if this is your jam, check out Bride. And it's very spicy. But Allie Hazelwood is another spicy one too. So if you're looking for something like that, check out Bride. I've seen mixed reviews on it. Some people really loved it. Some people were like, it was okay. I'm in the middle. I gave it a 3 out of 5. Review on this one was the story was simple to follow along, but I felt some parts of the book were rushed and not fully fleshed out. I thought Misery and Lo could have had more deep conversations together to fully understand who they were together. I would have loved the epilogue to be held a month or 2 later and not a week. Only so many feelings and emotions can happen in a week, so I didn't feel complete with the ending. I did feel it was a little rushed a little bit. While the intent of the story was good, I love when characters have a full development moment, and you can give me 2 more chapters just to understand who they both are individually and together. And I felt like in the epilogue, I like to read when they're like a month later or 2 years later, just to get a feel of how they were together and how that played a role in the epilogue. Are they still together? Are they still happy? Do they have a kid together? Are they living together? Like, I like to see that fleshed out a little bit more, so that's where I felt like it was a little rushed. Slammed. So I gave that one a 5 out of 5. Okay. You ever look back and, when you read and you're like, okay, I'm gonna give this review, and then you forget what you read, because most of these books I don't remember until I reread my review. And you're like, I give that a 5 out of 5? Really? All right, cool. Every time I read a Colleen Hoover story, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and that is very true. This unconventional love story was beautiful in every way, and by no means your average fast-paced romance. I did find myself turning against Will, but at the end you start to see why he is the way he is and the mission he serves. Grief is a theme throughout the entire story, so highly suggest you bring your tissues and know your triggers. Will's parents have passed, and he's taking care of his brother. He is a teacher. Lakin is a student and doesn't realize that when she enters her classroom, it's Will. And so reading that dynamic of how their relationship plays out was very unconventional, but I loved it for the point of the relatability of it. Sometimes when you read romance stories, you get lost in the fairy tale, right? It's like, oh my gosh, like a Hallmark movie. He drops something or she drops something and they both come and pick it up at the same time. Like, those are fairy tale moments that, possibility of happening maybe 1%. But when you actually have stories that are relatable, like you could see this playing out in your friend's life, maybe your own life, that's where I get a little excited about, because I'm like, oh, okay, like, I can relate to this. I can see myself in this particular scenario, for example. So I gave that one a 5 out of 5. Second one in the series was Point of Retreat. That was book number 2. I gave that one a 5 out of 5. Review that I gave: it takes true effort from both sides to make a relationship successful, and that's the theme I enjoyed in this story. One of my favorite series so far. Last book in this series was This Girl. I gave that one a 4 out of 5, only because now we got you know, now we understand who Will and Laken are in book number 1. Then we see how they built that relationship in book number 2. Then book number 3 was just a reminisce of what Will was thinking in book 1 and book 2. So we got his point of view. And so they're just kind of reminiscing back of their relationship and how they got to where they are today. So it was okay. You know, it was just kind of his point of view pretty much. So this one I said, it's a little bittersweet that this series has ended, but the passion and love that Will and Lake have for one another, I aspire to receive and give one day. I'm glad we got a chance to understand Will's mindset from book number 1 and doesn't make him look like much of a jerk anymore. Not in love. I gave this one a 2 out of 5. Let's see the review that I wrote. My first 2-star, and sadly it was my favorite romance story. Felt very unhinged and over the top. Unfortunately, I didn't connect with the characters, which in romances are so important. I didn't mesh well with the main characters in this. It was very different from what Ali Hazelwood normally writes when she's creating her characters and, you know, personalities and stuff. Most of the time it's like nerdy science, whatever, cool. This one was still in that realm of science, but I just didn't connect with her. What's the main character's name? Rue. Her name is Rue. Yeah, I didn't connect with her at all. She was very eclectic for sure, very eccentric in her behavior, but it was okay for me. This one was my first book I read from her, and when I read the summary, I was like, oh my gosh, I've always thought about that. You know, what happens if you met your characters in real life from your romance books that you read? Like, how would that play out? And basically, this is what it is. Elsie gets lost in pretty much her happily ever after, right? She gets lost in the series of books, romance books that she's read with her book club friends, and she gets to meet the characters in real life. But one of the characters does not belong or fit there. Did feel some parts were a little awkward in how they interacted, but it was cute. I liked the idea of it, and I know I suggested this with others as well. Like, we would love to see the other books played out in a book too, because they were really good. This one a 3 out of 5. I said I liked the execution of the story and thought it was very cute throughout. Just some parts of the story just didn't jive with me, but one thing's for sure, I really enjoyed the climax. Next one is The Au Pair Affair by my girl Tessa Bailey. I did not read Fangirl Down, the first one. I just haven't read that yet, but I have it on Libby for request. This one, let me tell you. An older man. Okay, I did not leave a review for this one. I need to start being better at writing reviews on these books. You like hockey, and you like men in hockey. This book is for you, and the third book in the series as well is for you. Okay. Yes, Burgess and Tallulah. Very unconventional love story, I should say. Older man, younger woman, so that's the dynamic there. And I wouldn't say not too much younger, like she's 28 and he's, what, 35, so like that's the age difference. How their story builds out, him being the grumpy man that he is and her being very lighthearted and free. Yeah, and then you know how Tessa Bailey writes in those love moments? It is spicy to a 10, okay? I enjoyed this one a lot. I gave that one a 4 out of 5. The last one is, for right now, is The Summer Will Be Different. I rated this one a 4 out of 5. This one was really nice. This one was like a nice cleanser palette for me. After reading, you know, a novel love story, The Au Pair Affair, which I thoroughly enjoyed, this one was a nice slowdown for me. And what I liked about this one, and this one was by Carly Fortune, give my actual thoughts. I feel like it was a lot of playing around, right? You try to see if this is what you want, and then you're like, no, what? Never mind, I don't want it. And so it's kind of like it's like a cat and mouse game, pretty much of, okay, I want to be with you, but I can't. But I really want to do this with you, but I can't. And so there's a lot of that in the beginning of the book. But then it really comes to the forefront of, do you really want this, right? I feel like most relationships nowadays, it's what do you really want, and do you actually want this for your life? And if you don't, be honest with yourself. You don't have to have it. But if you do and you want to work towards it, that's where I really enjoyed this one a lot with Felix and Lucy is it Lucy? Did I just say her name wrong? I think it's not Lucy. Is it Lucy? It is Lucy. where Lucy's trying to find herself and Felix is trying to find himself, and then they find themselves together. Like, that's where I like the individuality coming together in different seasons of their lives. So, like I said, the current book that I'm reading is Dreamgirl Drama by Tessa Bailey. That is from NetGalley, so it's not out yet, but it's spicy as always. Spice level is up to a 10, but I'm enjoying it so far. So once I have that done, that will go on my Goodreads as well. And my review, I'll give it to you now. Sig and Chloe's unconventional relationship is what makes me excited and giddy and just, like, what's gonna happen next? And there is a twist in there, but it's spoiler-free review, so you're gonna have to find out yourself. Let's talk about the books that I did not finish this year, but still reading. So I'm still reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. This one is really good. If you're looking to build new habits, especially for 2025, you're like, okay, I've been saying every year I want to create new habits, but I haven't stuck with them. He gives you concrete examples and details of how to stick to your habits, how to be consistent, and how to show up and be excited for them. So I've gotten some really good nuggets from here. As you can see, I've tabbed it up. Of Shadows, book number 3. It's one of those series. Well, one is on Kindle Unlimited, and I just have to resubscribe when it's time again. But it's one of those series where it's just long, so it just took a little bit, and I was like, well, I have other books ready for me on Libby. You know the game. If you're on Libby and the book says it's ready for checkout, you're going to drop what you're reading to check that out, because it's hard to get back afterwards, because this takes months to get the books. Those are the books that I'm still reading but did not finish. Hoping to finish. Either Dreamgirl Drama will be done this year, but the other books in 2025, those will be done and ready to be going for my reading challenge next year. I give you my top 2024 book of the year. So drum roll please. I have two, but one's a series and one's an actual book. The series Slammed, I would say, was really, really nice to read this year. I enjoyed Will and Lakin a lot. The book by itself is The Fiancé Dilemma, because I gave that one a 5 out of 5. Like, that one was very wholesome, very cheesy, very romantic. Thank you so much for tuning in to my channel. I want to know, what was your top book of 2024? Comment down below. I'm always looking to add new books to my TBR list because it's quite long, okay? If you know, you know. It is a long list. Will I ever get that list finished? Who knows? We just need to keep reading. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in with me today. I will see you all in my next video. Happy New Year and happy reading. Peace.